Hello and welcome back to Bluebell Hill Crafts. These folded star ornaments have been around for decades, and this is what it looks like using the traditional method. And these are some that I made using half the amount of fabric. Because the edges will be on show for my thinner version, I actually like to tear the fabric strips instead of cutting them with a rotary cutter or scissors, just for the added texture. The fabric measurements of today will give you a star this size. So it's 2 inches from here to here and 4 inches from tip to tip. I have prepped 4 fabric strips that I have torn, and they are 2 inches wide and 17 inches long, and that's about 5 centimeters and about 43 centimeters. You will also need an iron, and it would be handy to have a pair of tweezers at hand. If you wish, you can use some glue to, when you're tacking the ends under, to fix them in place, which is quite helpful. You can use fabric glue, which is, this one here is absolutely brilliant, or just a regular glue stick if you like, but this is optional. At the end of the video, I will give you some information on how you can make the traditional version of the star, and also give you some ideas on any hand stitching or embroidery that you can add to your versions. To start with, you want to fold over each strip in half and press, and then fold it over this way, but not quite down to the bottom, so that there's about 1.5 centimeters difference. And this will actually help you later on when we are flipping the project to see which side you're working on. Also, make sure that the folded edges are facing the same way, and then we will arrange the strips in a way where the folded edge is going clockwise. So you have a folded edge here, 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 and there. The next step is to interlink all the 4 strips, and this is where it can get a little bit confusing, but bear with me. I think once you have done it once or twice, it will get easier, I promise. What you want to do is take the open ends and tuck them into the folded ends, going all the way around. So you have another open end which will get tucked into the folded end, and then you have another open going into the folded, and then last but not least you need to tuck this into here, and then just pull them until they are nice and tight. And this is what it will look like. Next, we want to flip this over so that all the long ends are facing upwards, and going counterclockwise, we take the top layer and fold this over. So just 1/2 like this. And when you get to the 4th one, you need to tuck this under. And again, just make sure everything is nice and tight. And now the transformation begins. you want to fold the first piece away from the middle and finger press, or if you have, use a seam roller, and then we flip the project over. Next, we will form the counterpart to the tip, and notice that I'm leaving a tiny gap, and this will help you to get a really sharp point. Again, you can finger press, and because there's a little gap now, when we fold it over, there is enough room for the edges to meet, if that makes sense. You might find it helpful to pop a little clip on here at this stage. This end will now get tucked into here. Again, you can use the tweezers if you like. If you are using fabric glue or a glue stick, now would be the time to add a little drop, and I really mean a little drop, because you don't want it to leak through. Pull this over. Tiniest bit, and we'll also cut the surplus off at this stage, and you can see that this is in place nicely now. You're not flipping the piece back. Stay on the same side, and that's easy to remember because here you couldn't actually tuck anything in. So if you look at the other side, we will be able to fold in here, and that's always just a good method just to check when you're not sure how to proceed. So again, we want to fold away from the other strip, finger press, and now we have one of those V shapes in the middle. We flip over, fold this down with a little gap, and fold it over, and then we want to tuck in the end under here. Pull it out, add a tiny bit of glue if you're using it. You can always use your tweezers if you just want to pull this out just a tiny bit. So that's one side done. We stay on the same side because again there's nothing to tuck in because you're hitting the fold, and then we fold away from the middle, fold, and then flip over, do the tip, and fold it over. To complete this side, you will now fold this top strip again away from the center, because you can't tuck anything in here because that's the folded end. Flip. Because once you've folded and flipped, you then have another chance to fold this under. I hope this makes sense. Now we're automatically on the correct side to tackle this strip. And you can see once we flip it, again we have the correct edge to fold under. And we're nearly there. Again, take the left one. Press. Flip. Fold. And fold over. You can now give this a final press, and you've made your first star. If you want to make the traditional version of the stars, you need to make your strips double the width. So in this case, you would cut or tear them 4 inches wide and 17 inches long. And then the next step is to fold the strip over and press. And then you will fold both edges in towards the middle. Again, leaving a little gap for room. Press again. And then fold over and press once more. This is literally how you would make a binding for a quilt. And you would then have your strips ready to interlock them. Let me tell you about the little slow stitching I did on these. At this stage, before you start interlocking the 4 strips, you can add a running stitch in the middle of the strips. I've got one of the ends here that I've cut off from that one. So just add a knot and start the running stitch. So that's one option. You could also take a finished star and just add a few tiny stitches going along the outside of the star, and you're sort of just closing the tips with this method, but it's again adding a little bit of a handmade touch to it. What I will also try is, for example, here for this one, take a white embroidery thread, so it's contrasting, and come out through the middle and then stitch along, maybe add some sideways stitches, maybe some French knots, and in a way imagine a snowflake stitched across here. I hope that makes sense. It does in my head, but yeah, there's so many other things that you can do. You could add a little French knot maybe to each of the tips. Yeah, if you have any other ideas, please do share them in the comments. I'm always amazed at you know, what you guys do and the ideas you have, and I really love hearing about them.